New expansion, new you. What classes should you be maining in this next expansion of Midnight? Sometimes there's classes that, you know, hey, you want to pick up something a little bit more difficult this expansion, you can get into that stuff. Maybe you want to play Blood DK, the most highly skilled class in the game, right? Like me, maybe. Or maybe you're just looking for something safe and easy to main this next expansion, and this is your video. 5 safe classes you could main going into Midnight here from the Comeback Kids. Let's check out this one.
Picking a main at the start of a new expansion can always be very stressful. You're looking at almost 40 different specs wondering, are they going to be fun long term? Will they actually be good in raids, PvP, or Mythic Plus? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. My name is Sky. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the safest classes to main overall in Midnight World of Warcraft. Most of us have lives now. We don't have 3 or 4 hours to play every single day. We're looking at—
Who got a life? You got a life? You guys don't have lives. You're watching a fucking WoW stream at 5:26 a.m., okay? Let's be honest with ourselves here. You don't got lives. Just pick a main.
something that's reliable, versatile, and still fun months down the line from now. Also, don't forget to stick around until the end of the video to see how you can earn a free epic edition of World of Warcraft Midnight from the Comeback Kids. Starting off first, you can't have a safe classes to main list without Druid because it covers basically every role and playstyle the game can offer. Melee and range DPS, a healer, and a tank. Not only that, all 4 specs are in a really healthy spot heading into Midnight right now, so things are looking great for Druid. Where a lot of classes got simplified to the point of feeling way—
I will say, not only are things looking good for Druid, if you want to be like a player housing Andy, or professions Andy, or just an Andy's Andy, I don't know. These guys are always the best at gathering. Because of Druid forms and everything, you just fly around and gather resources. You want to chop down trees for your player housing shit? Druids have always been the best hunter-gatherer, class in the entire game. Doesn't matter what expansion you're playing.
To strip down, Druid feels like a very smart pruning and an improvement rather than a downgrade. They trimmed out bloat, reduced maintenance on specs like Feral and Balance, and made each spec more intuitive without gutting all of their identity. Another reason I love Druid as a class is because they bring universal value to any group regardless of the spec. You have a battle resurrection, you bring strong off healing, roots and knockbacks, as well as your own group buff with Mark of the Wild. There's no situation where you won't want a Druid in your group, which will make them highly valuable and sought after when you're looking for parties.
Yeah, Druids are for schizophrenics, I'll say it right now. I mean, they just do everything, a little bit of everything. I've watched people steal Druid PvP. You watch Druids in PvE, they can heal, they can DPS. Like, yes, if you want to pick a class because you don't know what you want to pick, Druid might be the one to go with because they can just do everything. Do they do anything particularly, like, the best? Not really. But do they do everything in a decent enough way that you can actually participate in shit and do? Yeah, they do.
Gameplay-wise, Druid gives you 4 very different identities. Feral is the fast, aggressive melee DPS that revolves around bleeds and finishers. In Midnight, they removed a ton of clunk and snapshotting, speeding up combo point generation, and giving them better cleave tools so it feels more fluid and less punishing. For Balance, you're still that mobile caster with incredible AoE damage. They made Eclipse now a button that you pressed, which instantly gets all of your damage rolling. The rotation is still clean, and you have an updated rotational identity trying to stay in Eclipse as long as you can. For Guardian, you're a very sturdy, low-stress tank that has great self-sustain that just refuses to die. They have streamlined talents, improved Berserk integration, and more reliable mitigation, making it easier to live and easier to play overall.
Oh, and another thing about Druid, the new race, right? The Horonir. I mean, if you want to play as one of them, hey, they have a Druid, right? They got the new Druid forms and everything. Maybe you want to play as the hot new thing in Midnight. Well, you get to play as a Horonir if you want to. Be the horiest Horonir around.
For Restoration, you're still that mobile sustain healer with a simple kit that just works. They removed minor maintenance spells and leaned more into that true heal over time effect value, making Resto more straightforward and consistent in-group content. The Druid's toolkit is probably the biggest safety net in this video. You can fill any role in the game. You have a wide variety of gameplay styles that will always keep things fresh. You'll always have a spot in any group content because your group buff and battle resurrection is invaluable, and you can pivot between all of this without re-rolling a class and starting over. If your goal is to pick a class that will always be wanted, always have a job, and let you swap playstyles without abandoning your main, Druid is one of, if not the safest class you can pick in all of World of Warcraft. Moving on next,
it's for those people who can't pick, right? They just can't pick. You tell your wife, hey, she says, I'm hungry. I want to eat something. I tell her, okay, what do you want to eat? She's like, I don't know. What do you want to eat? I pick something. She's like, nah, I don't want that. I pick something out. No, I don't want that. Then she fucking picks. Then I tell her, okay, then you pick. If you can't tell me what you want, what do you want? Just tell me what you want. And then she starts thinking, she goes, I don't really know what I want. Give me some ideas. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. You're a druid. She's a druid. She's a druid. She doesn't know what she wants. She just wants everything, but she doesn't want anything. That's it.
We have the Death Knight. This is another extremely safe class to main in Midnight because you get two great melee DPS playstyles with all three specs trending in a nice direction. In particular, what people are loving about Death Knight is that Frost DK got pretty much an overhaul at the end of the War Within in the final season, and Unholy Death Knight got a complete rework top to bottom. So if you were an investor stock into anybody right now, Death Knight is looking very, very fresh and exciting. The slow, heavy-hitting Juggernaut identity is back, but with smoother rotations, way thematic build design, and less pointless setup than ever before. When it comes to group utility and social value, Death Knight has always held its own. You have Death Grip to group up range mobs in Mythic Plus or Raids, Anti-Magic Zone, probably the best durability and self-sustain for any class in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, I play Blood DK, right? That's all I play, that's all I do. I am him and he is I. And it's great. Not only do you get to play, as a Death Knight, which is badass, you have the most badass background story in the entire game, right? You're a hero who fell in combat to the Scourge, preferably, not the new Death Knights, not these fucking weird new ones like the Volpera and shit. I'm talking about the classic Death Knights, right? You fell in a fight against the Scourge, and the Lich King was so impressed by your skill and prowess that he raised you as one of his own Death Knights, okay? Badass backstory. If you want to be a badass like Samiccus, yeah, play a Death Knight.
Very solid crowd control for groups and a battle resurrection if need be. They may not have a dozen buttons of supports like Shamans or Paladins, but they definitely still offer great tools for groups that you would want for anybody out there. When it comes to gameplay diversity, it's probably better than it's ever been for Death Knight. Unholy got a massive overhaul and is arguably one of the most improved specs in Midnight. They removed Festering Wounds, reworked AoE so it's not locked behind Death and Decay, and they leaned fully into that plate-wearing Necromancer fantasy. You're summoning ghouls, skeletal mages, and the gameplay loop is cleaner, more thematic, and way more fun. Frost didn't get a redesign or update because they already got one in the massive rework in 11.2. The spec
Frost was already in a
dominated
great spot
at the end of the War Within due to this overhaul in Mythic Plus, and is probably the most fun I've ever had playing Frost Death Knight. The rework has done wonders, and the stock on Frost is very, very high right now. Even Blood Death Knight saw some updates. They streamlined some of their survivability tools and made them less spiky in terms of damage taken.
They also, basically took down the amount of resources you have to manage as a Blood DK, so you get to actually watch, play the game, rather than feel like you're bejeweling your fucking resources around. That's what it felt like before. Now it should be a little bit easier.
They cleaned up the button bloat problem, and of course their self-healing and uptime has been increased as well. Blood Death Knight is still incredible for pickup groups in lower keys, and even now higher keys, even though it's not technically always meta. You gotta know, ladies and gentlemen, Death Knight is safe because you get two DPS specs that have been completely overhauled the last 6 months, and a solid and hopeful tanking spec heading into the new expansion. If you want a class that embodies the, unstoppable Juggernaut fantasy, they bring valuable group tools and gives you multiple ways to play without losing an identity, Death Knight is a fantastic and safe pick heading into Midnight. Next up, we do have to talk about the Paladin, and this is another incredibly safe class you can main heading into this new expansion.
And this might be the expansion of the Paladin, let's be honest. I mean, we got the whole Sunwell, Paladins coming out. They're going to have badass transmog, they always do. They're going to have badass abilities, they always do. And they're going to kick ass because, Blizzard loves Paladins. They really do. And the thing is with Paladin, much like Druid, you get all three versions of the game. You can be a healer, you can be a tank, you can be DPS. Usually all three are pretty viable. So yeah, I mean, it's also a Swiss Army knife. But a Swiss Army knife of the light, essentially.
As a Paladin, you get access to all three major roles, being tank, healer, and DPS. I will say openly, I think Holy and Retribution Paladin are trending in a very good direction right now, but it is important to know that Protection Paladin can use some work. Nevertheless, though, if you're looking for a class that can heal, tank, and deal damage all under the same roof, Paladin is a great choice. Paladin also brings, of course, some of the strongest universal support tools in the game.
They do. Also, I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to put my cards down, push my chips to the center of the table. I think there's going to be new Paladin race combos. We've talked about it in the past, and I think it's going to happen in Midnight. We're going to see some new races that can be paladins. So if you've been wanting to, maybe been waiting for that, who knows, maybe Night Elf Paladin. I think right now Void Elf and Kultiran Paladins seem to be like at the forefront. I don't know why Void Elf is, but there was like data mined mounts, Paladin mounts for those two races. So those look like they're going to be the ones. But hey, there's other ones out. Undead Paladin. I think if they make Undead Paladins a thing, you will see a lot of people become Paladins, because that's been a class race fantasy that a lot of people have been asking for a long time.
All their blessings, lay on hands, strong off healing, crowd control, defensives, a battle resurrection, and in a lot of cases, you have literal wipe saving buttons that instantly can stabilize a party or raid if you actually consider that as value. Paladin's tools are extremely high impact when used properly, which always makes them very desirable to have in Mythic Plus or raids. If a healer pulls threat, you use Blessing of Protection on them. If your tank gets rooted, you Blessing of Freedom them. You need to heal yourself to stay alive, you can lay on hands or Word of Glory. There's always going to be a moment when you press a button and everyone in the party just thanks you for it. Gameplay-wise, Paladin gives you 3 very distinct identities that all feel solid right now. Protection is still that tank with solid sustain, and I think the spec is finally getting some quality of life updates. Mastery no longer forces you to stand in your Consecrate. Hammer of Wrath got reworked. Word of Glory is more forgiving with mana, and I would say from a raw gameplay perspective, Protection Paladin feels a bit cleaner. They just need to fix their ability to have more on-use defensives, and this can be a very strong tanking spec. Retribution continues to lean into that fast, explosive style.
I also feel like in terms of holding aggro, Protection Paladin always has the easiest time doing it. They throw that shield, they consecrate, bust a nut all over the ground, and boom, they've got aggro. It's much easier for them than some of the other tanking classes.
Executioner's Sentence got redesigned, Hammer of Wrath isn't a separate button anymore, and Crusade saw some updates to make it more consistent. The result is a spec that absolutely still slams during its cooldown windows, but with less awkward maintenance and a more straightforward gameplay loop, if you can believe that for Retribution Paladin. Holy Paladin probably saw the biggest cleanup for all of Paladin specs. Light of Dawn no longer is just stuck to 5 players in front of you. Now it hits everyone around you in a 40-yard radius, which is awesome. Holy Shock and Judgment have shorter cooldowns. Divine Toll and Prism are now a choice node. Talents got reworked and adjusted to be very, very good, and there are no longer overbearing amounts of proc, creating a weird, like, passive minigame in your rotation.
Nice. Yeah, healing overall should be easier in Midnight for sure. The most satisfying sound is that ba-ding-dong. Yeah, the freaking shield bouncing around. I agree. Look, for Paladins in general, spell animation-wise, they have some of the best spell animations in the game. No doubt. Their spell animations are glorious. As much as I hate to say it, they're really, really cool. A lot of the shit they do looks cool, so if you're into good-looking spell animations, yeah, Paladin's the way to go.
This is probably the most beginner-friendly version of Holy we've seen in a while, and I've been really enjoying playing it with me and my buddies on the Midnight Beta so far. The big reason Paladin is safe is because it checks every box you care about when you're choosing a long-term main. 3 viable roles, 3 very different gameplay styles, tons of high-impact group tools, and enough redesign work here that all 3 specs feel fresh without looking unrecognizable. If you're looking for a class that guarantees you a spot, gives you powerful group tools, and lets you swap roleplay styles without ever switching a main, Paladin is one of the most safe and reliable picks you can make in the new expansion. Next up, we do have to talk about the Demon Hunter. And just like the others on this list, it's extremely safe pick going into...
A lot of people might main Demon Hunter because there were so many remixed Demon Hunters, right? Legion Remix, it was by far and away the most created class by a long shot. It was like quadrupled everything else. So we might see a shit ton of assless leather chaps running around in Midnight, and we're just going to have to deal with it.
To Midnight, because it offers 2 very distinct and highly functional roles, with, of course, the new spec on the block being the Devourer Demon Hunter. What people are really responding to well with Demon Hunter right now is that the class did not lose its identity in Midnight.
Oh, yeah. And they get a new freaking spec, right? That's another thing, another big bonus. And that might be why a lot of people made them in remixes. They want to try the new, Devourer Demon Hunter spec? Yeah.
It just became simpler, faster, and less punishing.
Yeah, he already
Demon Hunter is one of the most plug-and-play classes in the game, and when it comes to group content, you bring Chaos Brand, which is that nice magic damage debuff, strong AoE stops and interrupts, very consistent sustain for yourself, and brand new and improved survivability tools, high mobility to dodge mechanics. Listen, even if Demon Hunter isn't the #1 tank or DPS at a given moment, Chaos Brand alone guarantees that many raid groups will at least want one Demon Hunter because it directly increases everyone else's damage.
Yeah.
When it comes to gameplay diversity, I think Havoc continues to be that accessible, explosive dash around the area spec. They removed the...
It's so mobile, too. Like, if you're somebody, you know, with mobility issues, I'm not talking about in real life. I mean, I guess you could play Demon Hunter if you're in a wheelchair, sure. But I'm talking about, like, in the game, you just find yourself standing in fire all the time. You do a bad job avoiding shit. I mean, Demon Hunter is your choice, then. They're so good at just dipping and dashing and dicking around. They don't get caught by anything. If you get caught by anything as a Demon Hunter, you just need to check yourself. Like, check your life and everything that's going on in it. You should never get caught by anything as a Demon Hunter.
Bunch of bloated talents, merged defensive buttons, and simplified Fury generation. Not only that, they'll probably have one of the best Apex talent designs in the game, which I really, really love right now. Vengeance also saw some pretty major changes to push it away from being the, ramp to survive playstyle it had before. Defensives no longer spike based on uptime, Spirit Bomb has a reliable cooldown, and survivability is much less volatile, I would say, overall. They are still that highly mobile, consistent, and easy to pilot pickup tank. And then lastly, you have the Devourer, who's all about big setups, getting into Metamorphosis to release some nuclear damage upon your enemies.
I wonder how these guys are going to be.
Stars and void-based magic. You're highly mobile, and this is going to be a very interesting spec coming into World of Warcraft. And I think we're all
if I had to guess, just based on prior experiences with new specs or new classes, is it's going to be OP as shit to start the first season. This thing is going to come out the gate freaking blasting void beams out of their buttholes, and it's just going to do major damage, and we're all just going to be bringing these guys with us on every single run. That's just based on prior experiences. Like, whenever Blizzard brings one of these new guys in, they just come out of the gates freaking blasting. So that's what I'm expecting with this.
Excited to see what this bad boy can do. Demon Hunter is safe because it's one of the cleanest, most reliable toolkits in the game, and all three specs are trending in a very good direction. You have good self-sustain, so solo content is easy. You have Chaos Brand for group content with 2 different role types if you're looking to flex for your group. If you want a class that feels good to play, always has a spot because of that debuff, and gives you 2 fun playstyles that isn't going anywhere, Demon Hunter is one of the safest picks in Midnight. And lastly, we have the Shaman, and this is going to be another extremely safe...
That was a surprise. I wasn't expecting Shaman, but I guess I should have, because they are technically going to be the only healer spec that still has an interrupt in Midnight. That just might default them into the meta for Mythic Plus runs. So, I mean, if you want to be meta, hey, I mean, these guys might be like the most solid lock to be meta spec going into this first season.
Class you can main going into a new expansion, and is personally going to be my main heading into Midnight. Across the board, all 3 specs receive very meaningful updates that trimmed a lot of bloat, reduced randomness, and smoothed out a lot of their rotations without erasing their core identity. If there are any class specs in the game that got the best tuning hands down, Elemental and Enhancement are amongst the best of the best. They both saw a ton of cleanup that makes them feel more consistent and makes them substantially more fun, in my opinion. If you're the type of player who loves having different flavors of gameplay without re-rolling, Shaman could be a strong pick. You gotta know that Shaman is one of, if not the best group support class in the entire game, and that alone makes them very safe to invest in. You bring Bloodlust, your new raid buff, strong off-healing, consistent interrupts, and crowd control with your totems and knockups, the shortest cooldown kick in the game, and the whole suite of totems that can stabilize poles and boost your party's survivability. Shaman's utility is very high impact.
It is,
and
and
you can instantly turn a bad pole into a recovered one with a press of a couple buttons. As a Shaman, you always feel like you have tools to help your group succeed. And
tank, people are asking if he mentioned a tank. I mean, he mentioned a couple classes that have tank. I mean, he said Death Knight, he said Paladin, he said Druid. I mean, all 3 can be tanks. So, I mean, this isn't about, like, specific specs. This is about classes with diverse array of shit that you can do, and that's what makes them a good choice, because you can really just kind of flip and flop all over the place during the expansion.
Groups love having you because when things go wrong, you can actually fix it. Gameplay-wise, Shaman gives you 3 very distinct identities that all feel very refreshed going into Midnight. Elemental, you're still that range nuker that alternates between single target and cleave, but Blizzard removed a ton of random procs and fishing mechanics and made the rotation much more predictable and reliable.
Shaman should be able to tank. That would be cool. I still think they should be able to like encase themselves in rocks and just like be tanks. I think that's always been something, or like drop some protection totems and they can tank. I always thought that should be a spec for them, but it's not. That was for sure like just an editing mistake on their part. Or a leak. Maybe they know something we don't. Ooh.
Loving the new iterations and updates to Flame Shock and the AoE Lava Burst. Ascendance and Stormkeeper aren't the entire spec anymore, and while that lowers peak burst a bit, it makes Elemental way more consistent and streamlined than ever before. Enhancement remains that fast totemic melee brawler, but with infinitely better flow than before. Feral Spirits became passive, and it's tied to a couple of your abilities like Sundering and Doomwinds. They have tons of rotational effects that got merged and simplified, and I personally think it is the best enhancement has felt in the last 3 expansions. There is one spec for Shaman that could use a little bit of help, and I do think it's Restoration. Healing Tide and Ascendance are a choice node, and
but they're going to have an interrupt.
A little too much
Everyone's gonna
out
want
of most of the healers. I will say personally, I'm liking the direction they're heading with Restoration Shaman, but they still need another major cooldown and some additional helps to be able to get through those healing checks solo, because right now they can use it. The reason I would say Shaman is such a safe bet is because it gives you 3 very different play styles, high impact group tools, and one of the strongest support identities in the game, all without being mechanically overwhelming now. Whether you want to throw lightning, swing axes, or keep a raid together with healing, you're always going to be contributing towards something meaningful, and everything is trending healthy into Midnight for Shaman. If you want a class that's fun to play, brings value, and gives you multiple ways to engage with endgame content, Shaman is one of the most reliable and flexible long-term investments you can make in Midnight. Before we go though, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for watching and subscribing our World of Warcraft content. We just broke 90,000 subscribers. This is nothing but a dream come true for me and Lance, and we could not thank you all enough. Don't forget, if you're interested in earning a free copy of Midnight World of Warcraft from the Comeback Kids, check the link in the description below and sign up for the giveaway, which we will be doing very soon. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing or check out one of the videos you see on screen here to stay up to date on all things Warcraft. My name's Sky for the Comeback Kids. It's an absolute pleasure to make content.
Yeah, I like their channel too.
I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, good video from the Comeback Kids. Approaching that 100. They deserve it, man. Good shit. Overall, I agree with the classes he put on there. Sometimes, if I had to put like one class that doesn't necessarily have like the, oh, we got a healing and a tanking and I would say probably Warlock. I feel like Warlock always has, like, as if you want to play DPS, always one of their 3 DPS specs is like super viable and one of the top end specs in every single expansion. Also, they have badass transmog. It's easy to quest with them because they got pets and shit, so that was one that wasn't on the list that maybe I would add. But besides that, I pretty much agree with everything they said here. A nice little video here from the Comeback Kids.